It happens basically every year. So which teams are going from worst to first in 2026? We're exploring that right now.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes. I'm Joe Marino. He's Kyle Crabbs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season.
Joe, happy Monday to you. Now, we were going to talk about the preseason games.
They stink.
Pretty quiet. Pretty quiet weekend, but I'd take bad preseason football over no football.
Right.
Any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Amen.
So we have one more week of probably a lot of bad preseason football because there's probably a lot of teams that got their dry runs and dress rehearsals out of the way, and I'm going to give the bottom half of the roster a lot of run here on Friday and Saturday, and then by Sunday or Monday the cut day deadline happens and we got to be ready to rock and roll. And this time next week, we're going to be swimming in cuts.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking about teams that have a chance to go from worst to first. And Kyle, this happens, dude. I had two teams last year do it. The Bears and the Patriots. Nobody in 2024, but in 2023, the Texans. In 22, the Jaguars. In 21, the Bengals. In 2020, Washington. I mean, there's been like 3 years since 2000 where you didn't have somebody go from worst to first, and we're coming off of a season where two teams did it and one played in the Super Bowl.
So take this conversation seriously. I would like to start as we get ready to do the Norths, the Souths, the East, and the West. We'll start with the Detroit Lions, and that is where I would like to point out the highest ranked last place team that we have in our roster power rankings is none other than the Detroit Lions, who we have ranked as a top 8 team from a roster and coaching perspective combined, cumulatively. Now, there's some health things there, the safeties, the interior offensive line. Those things will be big, but Detroit has the talent to do this, and obviously they had a winning record last year at 9-8, and that's a pretty shallow consolation prize after being 2 years removed from going 15-2. But nevertheless, here we are.
No doubt the capacity of the Detroit Lions to do it. And they're obviously loaded with a lot of really good young players. I think the biggest challenge is probably offensively with Drew Petzing taking it over and a lot of offensive line transition and how that comes together right away. But they have A-list players in multiple spots on that offense. And, they were able to play through a lot of problems defensively last year. That unit got better. And so I think the biggest challenge might just be that it's a really competitive division and expectations are high for Chicago and Green Bay, and we'll see on Minnesota, but there's no doubt Detroit has the capacity to get this done.
I mean, they were fourth scoring offense last year. You score 481 points, and you bring the vast majority of that back, you're going to be dangerous to score points and win football games. And the challenge is just don't give up 24.5 points per game. And you should find yourself very much in the running. So you mentioned the schedule and the division, and I think that is what makes it tough because we have Green Bay is in the same stratosphere as Detroit in our rankings, and Minnesota is one of the best grades that we gave out for their coaching staff. And Chicago is a team that obviously is well represented in the coaching. They have a big time X factor as we did the variables for the incomplete evaluations for high variance for teams with Caleb Williams and how much more efficient he is in year 2 with Ben Johnson. It's a very muddy division, but it's a very fun division because everybody has a strong redeeming quality to hang their hat on.
AFC North would be the Browns, who went 5-12 last year. And I think this will be a real challenge for them to do it. They're expected to announce their starting quarterback
today
on Monday.
Today.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have one, if we're being honest. I think defensively they certainly have some talent. I like the remade offensive line, but they're so young in the skill players, and there's just not an interesting option at quarterback. So I think they have their work cut out from them. But if their defense can come close to the caliber of unit it was last year, and legitimately Todd Monken comes in and can elevate these quarterbacks, the offensive line is better. The young skill players do their thing. I think you could talk yourself into them being competitive, but it feels like a long shot to me.
I would agree. I would argue at least two of the other teams in this division are kind of in all-in windows with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh right now.
And the other team's Baltimore.
And the other team's
loaded.
Baltimore,
yeah.
Right? Like, I think their formula is they are exceptionally successful on defense despite losing Jim Schwartz, and they run the snot out of the ball because that allows you to hit explosives with these young receivers and hit your shots probably with higher than average efficiency when you take those shots.
Yeah. They're going to need some good fortune, though. I struggle to see it. And look, don't you just kind of feel like they're going to name Watson the starter today? And he could be the sacrificial lamb for a couple of games. I think they're on the road against Tampa and Jacksonville. And then they can bring in Shedeur, because you can't go from Shedeur to Watson, but you can go from Watson to Shedeur. I think that's –
yeah.
And just kind of like let Watson go out there and bury himself and like, yeah, okay, then we tried. See ya.
Well, as he proved over the end of last week, you give him a chance, he'll bury himself.
Jeez, brother. Yeah. Yeah, that messaging is just it's a bad situation.
Which also that's the only part of it for me. It's like, you're naming him the starter. I mean, that was like a lot of other stuff that's happened with Deshaun the last few years. That was a circus, the way that he got up there on the podium and talked.
Well, I think what maybe a lot of people didn't see is if you watch the Cleveland broadcast, which I was privileged to be able to do, they spent a lot of time talking to Shedeur on the sidelines, and Shedeur started this. He started going in. He's like, I don't really like y'all booing Deshaun. He's out there trying to do his best. Like, you don't need to do that. And like, I take exception with that. So, I mean, at least I think there's something cool about Shedeur kind of standing up for his guy, right? They spent a lot of time together. They're in that room. They're competing.
They're teammates, yeah.
They're teammates, yeah. But at the same time, it's dirty. The whole thing's been dirty for a long time, and someday it'll be over, but today's not that day. All right, we're going to move to the South and West next. Yes. And the Southwest. South, there's definitely a team that can do it. We'll talk about it next. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Running a small business means wearing a lot of hats, and payroll, HR, and benefits can quickly become some of the most time-consuming tasks on the list. Gusto helps simplify those responsibilities with one platform designed to make managing a team easier. Gusto is an online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. From automatic payroll, tax filing, and simple direct deposits to health benefits, 401ks, and built-in onboarding tools, Gusto brings the day-to-day HR tasks together in one place. There are also certified HR experts available to help with those tougher HR situations. Once a small business starts growing and hiring people, there's suddenly a lot more to manage behind the scenes. It's not just paying people, it's onboarding, direct deposit, taxes, benefits, and all of the HR details that come with having a team. Gusto puts those things together in one place, which can make that growth a whole lot easier to manage. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months free of payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time, go to gusto.com/LockedOnNFL.
The South last place finishers last season were the Tennessee Titans at 3-14 and the New Orleans Saints at 6-11. Actually, they have my bold prediction in the South this year is that the Saints will win this division. From a roster scoring perspective, we have New Orleans right around 20. We've got Tennessee 24-25 from a roster power rankings perspective. So not super highly graded, but when you consider that division or the divisions that they're in, we have New Orleans in front of Atlanta, We have New Orleans in front of Carolina. And I always, with this division, always forget the last team. Tampa Bay is pretty much neck and neck. They're like 2 points in front of New Orleans in our roster power rankings, where we grade everybody and stack it up that way. So, not a huge leap there for New Orleans. Obviously, the selling point is Tyler Shuck, year 2 in this offense with Kellen Moore. We stay healthy at wide receiver, and the defense with some of their young players, and they bring back Cam Jordan, and they perform at a high level with Brandon Staley as the defense coordinator, which I think, that's the right role for Brandon Staley to have a unit that overachieves, because he's done that in some spots that he's been before when he's just been the defensive coordinator.
I think additionally with New Orleans is just how many young players are now in year 2 or year 3. Obviously, you mentioned Tyler Shuck. He's the poster child for this, but Kelvin Banks at left tackle.
Not a young player.
Well, young player within
that would be if we were editing the cold open.
There it is.
There it would be. That would be
it. That'd be the one. So yeah, Talizi Fuaga year 3, Kelvin Banks year 2. Those young DBs, Jonas Sanker, Quincy Riley, contributors as rookies, and now they're in year 2, and I think kind of entrenched starters. Kool-Aid McKinstry kind of like really solidified in his role. So I like their young players. I think they get better on their offensive line with David Edwards. Caden Ellis, I think, has more range at backer than Demario Davis. Like you said, year 2 of this system.
Shots fired.
I said range. Look, I'm not wrong about range. I love Demario Davis, but come on now. Caden Ellis has more range than Demario Davis. So I think it's a nightmare that Jordan Tyson is dealing with a hamstring injury right now, which is like everything you feared when you make that type of investment in the top 10. But I think the counter to that is that Tyler Shuck had the glow up last year without Jordan Tyson.
Yeah.
Now you'd like to have him, but I'm not going to let that cool me off too much on where I think this Saints team can go.
They've got a deeper running game, right? They bring in Travis Etienne, and Kamara's banged up now anyway, so that depth is needed. But I think they're more explosive for sure. Is that fair to say?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So
there you go. There's your Caden Ellis, Demario Davis moment.
I would never slander Draft Dudes alumni Alvin Kamara. I would never do it. You still have Juwan Johnson at tight end, who I think is a splendid player at what he does. Chris Olave, obviously highly compensated. So I think Shuck will have enough toys, even if Jordan Tyson ends up being somebody who is in and out. But you run the risk now with Tyson, like you might be behind the 8 ball all season. And that's your hope, is that that's not the case. But for a rookie coming in, and now there's these kinds of service interruptions, you don't see a lot of guys that just come back and hit the ground running from stuff like that.
Well, and I don't think many people feel good about where Atlanta's at. Carolina's just been already suffering from injuries, and still plenty of questions about that offense. It feels like a 2-horse race. I mean, obviously, the season's got to play out, but right now, I think it's New Orleans or Tampa. And vibes are probably better with New Orleans.
I would agree. Now, the Titans.
Worried about Cam Ward, Kyle.
And I think Tennessee will be much more competitive as a whole this year. But the top 2 teams in this division are a couple of wagons. It's just like you're looking up at Jacksonville and Houston. Maybe Jacksonville regresses because it's year 2 with Liam Cohen, and maybe they don't score 475 points, and maybe Anthony Campanile doesn't have the same magic touch that he did his first season there, when everybody has an off season to watch the tape on it. But they're still going to be, I think, a double-digit win team. And then Houston obviously is collecting infinity stones as pass rushers, and they are so explosive on the defensive side of the ball. And they, in theory, have invested in a running game that can further help them stay on schedule offensively.
I like so much about what's happening with Tennessee. I think their defense will be really, really competitive. But do we have the interior offensive line? I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, how much can Skoronski carry by himself?
Well, and fair. And he had to carry Cushenberry at center last year. And now they lose Zeitler at right guard. It's like, I don't really like the makeup here. And I mean, I certainly wish Cam Ward was playing better. I know preseason doesn't define everything, but like I want him to play well, right? It's just his first exposures in this new system. Like, look comfortable. And I think it's hard to say that Cam's looked comfortable so far this preseason.
Yeah. The Wests.
Contender is it Raiders and Cardinals. So this is tough, Kyle. Arizona with
everything you just said about Tennessee. This is by the way, you get a third team.
Yeah, they're just in a tougher division, right?
Yeah.
With probably less high-end talent.
Less experience in the coaching staff.
It's tough, man. Yeah, it's hard to buy in on what's going on with Arizona, especially relative to that division. I'd be stunned.
I cannot fathom the path. Because it's not just one team, or it's not two, it's the entire division is highly competitive. And say what you will about the questions about San Francisco, and maybe they get hurt again like they did in 24 and they don't win a bunch of games, but like you need that to happen 3 times over.
It's tough.
Now, the silver lining there is, yes, they've invested in Carson Beck, and Beck looked good in the Hall of Fame game, and they got some young players, but I think they've got a great skill group for if they find themselves to be in a position to draft a quarterback. They didn't pony up for Malik Willis. They draft Carson Beck. They should be a team that I think you could drop a quarterback into and give him a great chance to be successful. And they'll get Chase Basantis back. And how unfortunate it is for him that he's a second-round draft choice. His season's already over. I think there's a long game to be played, and you've got a coach that will have a year of evaluating the rest of the offensive players around him. I know that's not the concept of today's show, but I think that has to be the conversation for Arizona.
Yeah, it's a meaningful get by year. Get some young player development, get your core philosophies established, but you got a lot of building to do here in a tough division.
Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's too many holes on the roster. I think that's what it comes down to. I just don't think there's enough anywhere. Maybe they have linebackers probably pretty set. And I like their running back situation. Brock Bowers is a dude, but like, I think you just have some fatal holes, whether that's maybe at least one spot on your offensive line. You have D-line issues. You have really a need for several receivers to emerge.
If you're just waking up and didn't see it last night, Ashton Genty has an ankle injury that is of an indeterminate severity, but the worst case scenarios there for him, as he got hurt yesterday in practice, have been avoided, which is thank goodness for that.
Yeah, I feel like those types of guys, they need to be contributing and establishing themselves. That way, all right, as we continue to progress, they're ready to be stars.
Yeah.
All right. We've got the Easts coming up next, and tomorrow is a very important day in the NFL. I'll tell you why next. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Life gets busy, and figuring out what's for dinner every night can quickly become another thing on the to-do list. Home Chef takes the stress out of mealtime by delivering fresh ingredients and easy-to-follow recipes right to your door. Whether you're looking to eat healthier, save money on takeout, or simply spend less time grocery shopping and meal planning, Home Chef makes cooking at home simple, convenient, and enjoyable. Home Chef offers more than 30 meal options every week, including calorie-conscious and GLP-1 friendly meals, so there's something for every schedule and lifestyle. And people really love it. Home Chef is rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. For me, it's just the convenience of not having to constantly figure out what's for dinner. It takes that daily decision off my plate, literally. It also helps me stay on track while eating at home more instead of defaulting to takeout. And it's become a big part of my routine in a way that just makes the week feel a little more organized and a lot less stressful. Check it out, folks. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box plus free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/LockedOnNFL. That's homechef.com/LockedOnNFL for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. Homechef.com/LockedOnNFL. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. All right.
New York.
New York. No. New Jersey. New Jersey.
The New York market. New York market. Tell us why it's such an important day tomorrow.
Well, it's not for either of the New Jersey teams, but it is for fans of teams in the AFC South and the NFC North.
It's Rivalries Day tomorrow, huh?
Rivalries Day tomorrow. Consider me excited. And part of what gets me excited is seeing those Titans uniforms last night. They played at home against was it Seattle? And I thought they looked good, man. I wish that there was a little bit more red accents, like maybe the face mask or something with striping or socks. But man, I think the Titans really did a good thing.
But they had to have the guitar strings on the pinstripes.
Oh, but it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. I didn't say it wasn't. I was just saying.
Yeah, but I think the face mask, maybe something with the socks. I think there's some chance for some red pops. But we're taking. Talk about a glow up, man. That's about as good as we've seen in a while.
I want you to blind tell me which rivalry jersey you like and dislike the most without knowing a single thing about them other than the teasers that they put out.
So Bears, Lions, Packers, Vikings, Colts, Jags, Texans, Titans.
Yes.
Oh, there's some really interesting color palettes there, right?
Yes.
Oh man. Vikings could be
I would
really
much
cool.
rather do this than talk about the path for the New Jersey
for the Jets and Giants. Yeah, we're saving ourselves here with this. Man, I really like the Minnesotas. They've had some good alternates. Their icy white or whatever it is, I thought was pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about like Green Bay and Jacksonville. Like I feel like those could be bad.
I especially agree with Green Bay. And Jacksonville seems like they're really going to do something like loud and bold. I think their teaser was
seen that, and it's not
bold.
Gone well before in the past with they've had some of the worst uniforms. The gradient helmets, you remember this? The fade?
Yes.
Holy smokes, we lived through it.
So the three I'm the most worried about is Jacksonville for reasons as discussed. Green Bay because they're like Pittsburgh, right? It's just like their kits
can only look one way,
And you try to do something different with that, and I'm really scared what that's going to look like. And they don't have a ton of experience with doing stuff like that. And then Detroit, with some of the potential Motor City themes, I think could just not look good on football uniforms.
But if you nail it,
like they're boom or bust for me.
Yeah. I'll be glued to this. I'm going to lose like probably 2 hours of productivity on Tuesday looking at all the videos and pictures of these uniforms. So,
are you hoping like I am Chicago leans into the orange?
What other option do they have? I think they will.
They could go black or white.
Give me some type of cool looking bear though. I don't want like the sea or something. You know what I mean? Like you have a freaking bear, dude.
Yeah.
An awesome animal. Do something cool with it. Okay.
The New York Jets path. They beat up on the Dolphins twice.
Well, look, they've improved the competitive floor of this roster, I think, with their offseason.
They had a minus 203 point differential this past season.
That happened when Brady Cook starts 6 games.
Well, the good news for them is Geno Smith led the league in interceptions last season.
I think there's going to be a lot of good glow-ups coming out of that Vegas offense disaster.
Without Geno?
Well, I think Geno in a different situation, even if it's not a great one, will play better than he did last year.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough sledding. I think you got 2 teams that I think are contenders in New England and Buffalo. So to go from worst to first, I think step one is you got to be better than those teams. And I have a hard time seeing that path. They should be a competitive defense if they can keep it between the lines on offense, play good complementary football. But to me, that's the path to mediocrity. But I think that's fine. I think that's kind of where they're at. and they're, it's about finding some dynamic young players to start building around, and they have some of those, but look, you went out and got David Onyemata and Demario Davis and Geno Smith and Minka Fitzpatrick, those types of guys to like elevate the floor of your roster. And I think it does that, but it doesn't really push the roof to make this type of a leap.
Right. And they better win. They better win in Tennessee week 1, because after that it's Green Bay, at Detroit, at Chicago, home against Cleveland, at New England the first 6 weeks.
They feel destined to be 2-4, but
in some capacity, it's just, do they score an upset, right?
Yeah. Well, and assume they win the games or quote unquote have a chance to win, right? I mean,
that's a long road.
It's a tougher, yeah.
For the Giants, Jackson Dart makes a year 2 leap. Malik Nabers is healthy in the pass rush. Group of Burns and Arvell Reese at stack off ball linebackers, their top draft choice, and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau ends up being absolute monsters and wagons, right? Like, they get the year 1 coach bump with Harbaugh.
Yeah, I don't think it's that crazy for the Giants.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, I think they got plenty, and offensively, yeah, I mean, it's really about, if Malik Nabers is back, I mean, they have a decent situation. It's just kind of the volatility of all of their young players offensively and taking good steps, and it's a new system and all that. But I think the Giants are probably one of the more likely teams to do it.
They have a lot of depth in the secondary, is what stands out to me. When you think about Paulson Adebo, Greg Newsome, Drew Phillips, 2nd round draft choice Colton Hood, Tay Banks is probably their 5th corner.
Yeah.
It's a former 1st round pick, and it hasn't gone well for him, right? But like,
as a 4th or 5th corner?
Yeah, that's your CB5 potentially.
Right.
And then safety with Holland. Newbin is a young player. They bring in Jason Pinnock.
Ardarius
Washington. So that secondary playing behind the pass rush that they have, I could see it. Tremaine Edmonds, they added free agency at linebacker. I think it's offensive line. It's Nabers' health, and Jackson Dart's got to play smart football this year.
Want to stack them? Most likely to least likely?
Most likely to least likely.
So,
yeah, let me
get organized here.
Yeah, I wasn't mentally. You threw me a curveball here. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I got them all.
Okay, so let's work through this. 1 and 2 is either the Lions, Saints, 1 and 2, right? Do you have convictions on which one's 1?
I think the Lions are a better team, but the South is easier to win.
Better team with a tougher path, right?
Yeah.
Just go with the better team, I think, is what we should
go with
do.
The better team. Detroit.
Yeah, so Detroit's 1.
Yep.
Saints are 2.
Yes.
Is it the Giants 3,
the Giants
Kyle?
Probably 3.
Right.
Probably.
We undersold that at the beginning of that segment.
No, we were just having fun at the expense of the New Jersey teams.
And I got it. I mean, I have a mafia to make sure that I represent correctly.
Yeah.
So you understand, I got things I got to do here.
I understand. You got obligations.
Yep.
Whoo! Which is the next most likely to go worst to first?
Let's go.
Jets, Browns, Titans, Raiders, and Cardinals.
I think what we need to do is figure out who number 8 is. Let's get some options out of the way. Who's the least likely? Cardinals. Okay, fine. I'm with you on that.
Worst team with the hardest division.
Yes. So that leaves the Jets, Browns, Titans, and Raiders. They all feel pretty much the same to me. Does any team stand out to you as the best or worst? Like, just to get the options down.
I would say teams that are. I would say the Jets probably go 7 because you are removing the first year head coach bump potential. And I think those two teams they all have tough teams you're looking up at in front of them. But at least you could say, we get the higher new coach bump with Robert Saleh.
Well, and you have number 2 and number 3 in MVP voting last year playing quarterbacks, and that's
correct.
Tough. Yeah,
correct.
Okay, so Jets are 7.
So I'd say Jets 7. So now we need 4, 5, 6.
I feel like the Titans are talking to be about number 4.
Put them there. I'm sorry.
Not with great convictions, but like you can at least draw some parallels to other glow ups where I think there's some common denominators here. Where literally the two teams last year, the Bears and Patriots that did this, the team that is most similar is definitely the Titans.
Okay.
Argue with your cat.
4.
All right.
What if I have my dog?
You are a cat and a dog guy.
Yeah, but I have a dog here. Like he's here
physically. Yeah, it's the third member of the pod.
My dog.
Well, I mean your dog's name is Shula, so I wouldn't argue football with him. You know, you just probably disagree with him. Okay.
He knows what we're talking about. He's side-eyeing me right now. Let's go.
Raiders 5. Browns 6. Raiders have better quarterback situation. That would be why.
The Browns have a better defense.
I think the Browns are in a tougher division.
Do you think the Browns are in a tougher division than the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs?
Probably not on paper, but I think really
okay.
When you put it like that, yeah. The least vulnerable team feels like Denver of all of those teams that are like top end.
Right, because the defense is so complete. They add Jalen Waddle to the offense.
Sean Payton, a good offensive line.
Sean Payton, good coaching staff.
Yeah.
So Browns at 5 and Raiders at 6.
Raiders at 6. Okay,
yep.
so
read a fourth one time and we're out of here.
Lions 1, Saints 2, Giants 3, Titans 4, Browns 5, Raiders 6, Jets 7, Cardinals 8.
There you go. Worst to first. If it happens, we just did it. And what we do the rest of the week, you're going to have to come back and find out. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We are Locked on NFL Scouting. That's Shula right off screen there. If you're just listening, you're not missing anything. I'm just pointing down the corner. So we appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you all again tomorrow.